A final decision on the agreement with the European Union will be made on Sunday, 48 hours or so from now, and a no-deal outcome is now looking increasingly likely. The President of the European Commission has now said that the EU is putting in place certain contingency plans in preparation for that no deal with us here in the United Kingdom. One of those 4 contingency plans is to maintain the status quo on fishing. In other words, in the event of no deal with the European Union, Brussels is demanding continued access to UK waters and the right to oversee that access as though we were still a member state. This plan totally disregards the fact that Article 56(1)(a) of the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas makes it unambiguously clear that independent sovereign coastal states have full rights over the exploration, management and exploitation of all resources, living and non-living, so including fish, within 200 nautical miles of their coastline. In other words, within their exclusive economic zone. Perhaps the European Union's missed the news. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is now an independent sovereign coastal state. I say, therefore, that if EU fishing boats are to have any access to our waters, it has to be on our terms, under our laws and under our management, not that of Brussels. Now, the European Union has also said that it wants a level playing field. But what they and the mainstream media don't talk so much about is that Brussels wants the right to change the law in future and to punish us with immediate tariffs on our goods imported into the EU if we do not comply with those laws. And of course, at the moment, we can't agree to that because we don't know what those laws will be or how they will change in future. At the same time, they want to deny us the same right to change our laws. How on earth can that be considered level? I actually believe that what they really mean when they say a level playing field is business as usual. And business as usual for them is laying down the rules, regulations and directives, not only for themselves, but also for others. Well, that's fine as long as we have the right to say no. You've changed the rules and we don't accept that change. But under their proposals, we would not have that right. How can that be considered level? We all know what this is really about. It's not the European Union simply protecting its own market. It's also about hamstringing and controlling the UK's potential. The European Union doesn't only want fairness for its businesses, which after all would be perfectly fair and reasonable. It wants all its member states to see the UK fail, or at least to see us struggle massively post-Brexit or post the transition period. Why? Because they don't want anyone else getting the idea that leaving the European Union might be a good thing to do. So, they have no interest at all in us succeeding. I understand that, but so should everyone else. I have some sympathy with their position from that point of view. They don't want the bloc weakened by other member states deciding to leave, and why should they court that possibility? And no, we cannot reasonably expect them to go out of their way to help us succeed. After all, it was us that decided to leave, and it is for us to make it work. But, and this really is my point, that is the very reason why we must not let them control or dictate the conditions of our future. If we hand our own ability to define our own future to them, we're asking for trouble, because they don't have an interest in us succeeding. Our government's first duty is towards the confidence, optimism, prosperity and security of this nation, and it must not allow the European Union any control or constraint over our success. Now, as for the opportunities before us, there is a very true saying, and that is, in life you create your own opportunities. So I'd like to make this point and highlight it. It is now up to us. The United Kingdom has a proud history. Our academics, scientists, engineers, armed forces, our values, our national character and leadership have led the world. The Industrial Revolution started here. The railways were invented here, as were the telephone and the internet. Our language is that of international finance, international shipping and international aviation, and it is the most widely spoken across the globe. At one time, 2/3 of all merchant shipping was flying the British ensign. That's merchant shipping around the world. 3 times we've rescued Europe from tyranny. And if it was not for us, Germany, France and Italy would not have been rebuilt as they were after World War II. And indeed, they wouldn't have the advantages in the European Union that they do now if it wasn't for us back then. We funded it. If it were not for the UK, the United Nations most probably would not exist. We've a proud and accomplished history, and I have every faith in the people of our nation to put the great back into Britain. And so should you. You should share that faith. What holds us back is not lack of opportunity, it's not lack of ability, nor is it lack of resourcefulness or ingenuity. It is division. We're divided by people amongst us here in the UK who do not want us to succeed and have never accepted the result of the referendum. They would like to see us fail simply because they are so selfish that they put their wish to be able to say, you see, I told you so, before the common good of the nation. We have to stick together. People who argue and campaign for us to rejoin the European Union, though, do have every right to do so. However much I might disagree with them, they have the right to their opinion and they have the right to express it. And I will defend that to the last, defend that right. What they have no right to do, however, is to obstruct our efforts to make this country a success by sowing division or criticising those who support those efforts and such a success. I've always said that the risk of Brexit is not in leaving the European Union, but it is in having a government so incompetent and negligent as to be unable to manage the process properly. And sadly, the government's planning and preparations for no deal since the referendum have been far from adequate. And in that way, they have let us down. So inevitably, there will be disruption in the first few months of next year, if there is not a deal agreed. And pro-EU campaigners will, certainly, inevitably, point to even the slightest disruption as evidence as to how Brexit is a disaster. Don't allow them to dishearten you. Because I say only time will tell in the medium and long term what the results of Brexit will be. And those results are dependent upon ourselves, upon you, upon me, upon the government, and upon all of us. Brexit opens up literally a world of opportunities. Opportunities that are ours to discover, create, develop, and exploit. It is dependent entirely upon ourselves, nobody else. Brexit will only be a disaster if we allow the naysayers to dampen our enthusiasm and humble patriotism. If we remain divided, fail to look to the future, to look to the potential, and fail to exploit the chances we have now been given to reinvigorate the nation, and if we deny the example of recent generations who built the skills, values, expertise and character of this nation, a nation that was and can again be a shining leader and example to all others around the world. Now, some also say that I, and those of you like me, are little Englanders. Don't have it. Don't accept that. My response to that is that being responsible for our own destiny is in no way xenophobic, no way racist, and in no way isolationist. Some of the greatest multilateral projects the world has ever seen have been based on collaboration amongst independent and sovereign states with their own characters, their own strengths. Indeed, such things are strengthened by the contributions made by us as separate and different nations rather than clones controlled by a single Brussels-type mothership. To succeed, we here in the United Kingdom must be globally outward-looking. We must be a globally outward-looking trading nation. We cannot pull up the drawbridge. We must be a loyal friend and ally to our partners abroad. The government is doing reasonably well in this regard, and only yesterday they announced an agreement has been signed with Singapore, and that comes after a whole range of others. Perhaps it is really, in reality, the European Union that's the isolationist one. As the recent talks have shown between us and the European Union, the EU is no globally outward-looking trading bloc. Rather, it is a protectionist internal market, and that's why they have no interest in seeing us succeed, because we will be competition to them. Now, BritPac, the British Political Action Conference, the organisation and movement that I've just founded, aims to encourage thinking and ideas about the strategies and policies that will take us forward and make Britain great again. We're not a political party, but want to provide a place for interested individuals, activists, groups and organisations to come together to enhance debate, exchange ideas, reflect generally on all matters to do with the future of this great country of ours, and to help strengthen leadership and cohesion across the broad patriotic community of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. We want to facilitate debate and so contribute towards the definition of a national vision and associated policies. And there must be a national vision around which we can all agree and unite. For Britain to be great, we must be free to determine our own problems and solutions, to identify, create and exploit our own opportunities, and to collaborate with others according to our common interests, rather than having those things dictated to us or constrained by a foreign power, which, after all, is what the European Union in fact is. For all of these reasons, Boris Johnson and his government are correct to refuse to give in to the demands of the European Union, right to refuse the EU's constraints on governance, law, state aid and EU control over the UK's sovereign rights regarding its national resources. Any agreement regarding any of these things has to be based upon the principle that access to the UK's market and the access to our resources, including fish, must be managed and governed by UK law and the policies of the British government in exactly the same way as UK access to the EU's market must rightly be managed and governed by the European Union. To compromise on these matters would be to launch ourselves into the future hamstrung, just as some in the European Union would like us to be. They don't want competition. To compromise on these matters would also to undermine the potential to make ours a confident, optimistic, prosperous and secure nation at all levels of society, in all our villages, towns, cities, counties and regions, and in the devolved administrations, Scotland, Wales, Northern Ireland, not only England. And it would weaken our potential, not only as the United Kingdom, but also as a globally outward-looking trading nation, leader, friend and ally to our partners. Compromise now, in briefer terms, would be to prevent us from putting the great back into Britain. Hold the line, Boris. Please do support us. We do need you to participate in the effort to make our future confident, optimistic, prosperous and secure for all law-abiding people in this great nation of ours. You can help by following us on Twitter, which is @BritPac_UK, liking our Facebook page @BritPac, and subscribing to our YouTube channel, which you can find through the website, which is www.britpac.uk. And please do also, if you can, consider becoming a patron for as little as £3 a month via our website. Again, www.britpack.uk. We will send you, those of you who do, we will send you regular updates and news about our upcoming roadshow and next year's annual conference. I hope to see you there. And let's indeed put the great back into Britain.